The 10,019th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is Security Council Resolutions 1160, 1998, 1199, 1998, 1203, 1998, 1239, 1999, and 1244, 1999. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representative of Serbia to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. On behalf of the Council, I welcome His Excellency Mr. Marko Đurić, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Serbia. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite Mr. Milbert Jongchun Shin, Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary General for Kosovo, to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite Madam Donika Gërvalla Schwartz to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I also invite His Excellency Mr. Stavros Lambrinidis, Head of the Delegation of the European Union to the United Nations, to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I now give the floor to Mr. Milbert Jongchun Shin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished members of the Security Council, it is my honor to brief the Council on developments in Kosovo since the latest report of the Secretary General, covering the period from March 16th through September 15th, and also provide some overarching observations. Mr. President, I would like to begin by commending and congratulating the people of Kosovo on the peaceful and inclusive atmosphere of the local elections held on October 12th. I call on all parties to maintain the same calm and inclusive environment in the runoff elections set for November 9th, in order that people can continue to freely enjoy the right to vote. I would also like to acknowledge the important role played by the Election Complaints and Appeals Panel and the Supreme Court in upholding the rule of law and ensuring compliance with electoral laws in Kosovo. Their decisions reinforced the legal guarantees of inclusiveness and electoral integrity. While we welcome the slight increase in the number of women candidates in mayoral elections this year, I note that only one municipality out of 38 will be led by a woman mayor. As elected local officials prepare to assume office, we look forward to the smooth and timely formation of local government administrations that can serve all residents. Municipal governments are the closest link to communities. Their proper functioning helps translate people's voices into actions that shape their daily lives. Mr. President, since the legislative elections in February, divisions between political parties had prevented the constitution of the Assembly of Kosovo and the formation of a government. This stalemate had constrained the functioning of central institutions. On October 10th, with the election of a Kosovo Serb deputy president, the Assembly was declared to be constituted by its president. Subsequently, 10 Assembly members, including the 9 members from the Srpska Lista party, contested this election before the Constitutional Court. Pending the court's decision, we reiterate that respect for the independence of the judiciary remains a cornerstone of democratic society. And we express hope that in line with the court's ultimate decision, political divisions can soon be overcome so that the people of Kosovo will be represented and served by their institutions. Mr. President, we welcome the dialogue meetings in June and September between Belgrade and Pristina in Brussels. We call on both parties to avoid measures that might erode trust, and I encourage the parties to address outstanding issues constructively and in good faith within the dialogue framework under the leadership of the EU Special Representative Peter Sorensen and in line with existing commitments. I also welcome the meeting in July of the Working Group on Missing Persons, chaired by the International Committee of the Red Cross. Engaging sincerely to help clarify the fate of the missing and seeking to bring closure to the enduring pain of their families remains a noble and essential humanitarian endeavor. Our mission remains committed to supporting all efforts to address the fate of missing persons. Mr. President, earlier this year, Kosovo authorities enabled many residents with documents from Serbia-run institutions to regularize their status in the Kosovo system. We welcome this positive step. We also encourage authorities to establish a more consistent pathway for civil registration. A commitment to seeking solutions can best enable all members from non-majority communities to acquire necessary documents and enjoy equitable access to services. Authorities in Kosovo recently announced that the full enforcement of the law on foreigners and the law on vehicles would begin on November 1st. This could introduce administrative challenges affecting access to essential rights and services, including healthcare, education, and employment. This is concerning for those habitual residents of Kosovo from non-majority communities who continue to face difficulties in obtaining the necessary documentation. This should be a moment to renew efforts to finding solutions to these challenges. Mr. President, we reiterate the concerns that we and our international partners have expressed regarding the potential impact of the closure of Serbia-run institutions on access to health, education, and culture. The Pristina authorities have cited legal and administrative imperatives behind these measures, and the issues remain complex. It is important that Pristina authorities genuinely engage all concerned communities prior to enforcing decisions that affect everyday lives, and that they seek viable alternatives in order to avoid or minimize negative impacts. We acknowledge in this regard the continued efforts by the EU's Special Representative in Pristina to engage with authorities and those affected in order to mitigate the impact of decisions which bear mainly on non-majority communities. In my discussions with political, religious, and community leaders, as well as civil society representatives from all communities, interlocutors have consistently highlighted the importance of dialogue to building trust in managing these complex issues. Mr. President, we have recently passed the second anniversary of the serious security incident in Banska. We call on all relevant authorities in Belgrade and Pristina to take transparent and effective measures to bring perpetrators to justice, including by cooperating through mutually agreed mechanisms. Similarly, full accountability is also essential for the attack nearly a year ago on the Ibar-Lepens water canal. Mr. President, as highlighted in the Secretary General's report, we are concerned by arrests relating to the display of cultural, national, or religious symbols. We underscore the need to respect the legal framework that exists in Kosovo and strike a proper balance between protecting the freedom of expression and preventing the incitement of hatred or violence. Failure to maintain this balance risks infringing on international human rights standards and undermining public trust in the justice and security sectors. Here, too, confidence can be built through dialogue and community engagement. I reiterate UNMIC's calls for the return of Kosovo Serbs to public institutions. Kosovo's vibrant multi-ethnic society should be reflected across its institutions, which can only strengthen democratic governance. Mr. President, we congratulate Kosovo on marking the 25th anniversary of the Ombudsperson institution. I underline our mission's continuous support for the institution, its reporting, engagement, and outreach in line with the Paris Principles. And we urge the Assembly of Kosovo to elect an ombudsperson and deputies to new mandates as soon as it is in a position to do so. This institution remains essential to ensuring accountability, equality, and protection for all people in Kosovo. Kosovo's dynamic civic space remains one of its greatest strengths, yet recent pressures on civil society warrant close attention. Media freedom and the freedom of expression also remain under pressure. The Association of Journalists of Kosovo has reported personal attacks against journalists, and the public TV broadcaster has faced challenges to its independence. Mr. President, UNMIC reiterates the importance of building trust among communities. We therefore continue, despite financial constraints, to promote trust and social cohesion through our programmatic activities. We do this in close cooperation with the UN Kosovo team and local and international partners. These efforts are yielding results. For example, we have supported a grassroots initiative over the past 2 years that worked in a number of municipalities to implement projects, bringing together different communities. This has fostered inter-community dialogue while also delivering practical, tangible benefits. These communities also work hand in hand with local authorities. Indeed, co-financing by municipal authorities of these projects reflects the key element of local ownership in this collaborative approach to trust building. We see also that our projects have lasting impacts. A tractor provided 12 years ago to a mixed community of Kosovo Albanian and Kosovo Serb farmers continues to bind neighbors today. Over the years, that initial investment has even inspired other forms of cooperation, even among these farmers. The Barabar Center remains a flagship for these efforts, having hosted over the past 3 years more than 220 events for over 17,000 participants from all communities. Through these events, we continue to create safe spaces for open and honest dialogue across communities, generating opportunities for reconciliation and lasting peace. These initiatives and many more contribute to reducing intercommunity tensions and to favoring an enabling environment for the political process. Mr. President, we also maintain our commitment to advancing women and youth participation in political processes. UNMIC supported a leadership training program last year to enhance participatory governance across Kosovo for 60 representatives, 45 of whom were women. Participants from various political parties and civil society organizations to improve their capacity to engage in democratic processes and expand cross-community networks. We are pleased that several women trainees stood as first-time candidates in the 2025 local elections. The 7th United Nations Youth Assembly, held this June, brought together over 130 young leaders from Kosovo and across the Western Balkans. Their energy and vision shone through, demonstrating that young people are not only the leaders of tomorrow, but vital agents of change today. Our mission's work on trust building stems from our commitment to peacekeeping and peace building across society, to foster a culture of peace where persons from all communities have a sense of belonging. I thank all my colleagues in UNMIC for their long dedication to this work, despite the challenges they face in implementing our mandate. Before concluding, Mr. President, I wish to acknowledge the outstanding contribution of the outgoing commander of KFOR, General Enrico Barduani, whose leadership has been pivotal in managing crises and ensuring security. I also warmly welcome his successor, General Oskan Ulutash, as he returns to lead KFOR for a second time. We look forward to working closely with him in the period ahead. Finally, Mr. President, I thank the members of this council for your commitment to peace, stability, and cooperation in Kosovo. By working together, we can sustain progress and dialogue, uphold human rights, and reinforce the foundations for lasting peace. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Shin for his briefing, and I give the floor now to Mr. Marko Đurić, His Excellency Marko Đurić, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Serbia.
Esteemed President of the Security Council, distinguished members of the Security Council, esteemed Deputy Special Representative of the Security Council. Allow me to begin with the words of Nelson Mandela, who once said, "To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity." These words echo with painful clarity today as we speak about Kosovo and Metohija, where the fundamental rights of Serbs are not merely being ignored, they are being systemically eroded, piece by piece. What we are witnessing is not an abstract political dispute, but a human struggle for dignity, security, and survival. I begin by extending my sincere thanks to Secretary General Guterres and Deputy Special Representative Mr. Sheen for this report and for their unwavering commitment to fulfilling UNMIC's mandate under the UN Security Council Resolution 1244. The Republic of Serbia also expresses profound gratitude to each and every member of UNMIC mission who, despite severe constraints, limited resources, and a hostile environment, tirelessly safeguard peace, security, and human rights in Kosovo and Metohija. I also commend the previous head of UNMIC, Mrs. Karolina Zijade, for her dedicated service. This year, as we mark 80 years since the founding of the United Nations, a beacon of hope forged from the ashes of humanity's darkest war, we are reminded of its solemn promise, never again. Yet, on the sovereign soil of a UN member state, that promise is being tested. Kosovo and Metohija is enduring ethnically driven attacks, relentless persecution, arbitrary arrests, brazen usurpations, and unchecked violence, a direct challenge to the principles of the UN and the principles for which the UN was built to defend those principles. In this context, Serbia welcomes the Secretary General's report as a modest but meaningful step forward, balanced, ground truth reporting on the situation in Kosovo and Metohija. We deeply value UNMIC's role in upholding international law, protecting vulnerable communities, and maintaining stability in the face of growing pressures. But let us not mince words. Any report falls short of capturing the full horror unfolding daily. This is no abstract crisis. It is the shattering of human lives, the tearing apart of families gripped by terror, and children robbed of innocence in the 21st century. Kurti's regime has shattered 128 vital institutions in Serb-majority areas: services for education, healthcare, social protection, postal delivery, pensions, and jobs. Even the Red Cross in Kosovo and Metohija has been targeted, a flagrant violation of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement's sacred principles. As the Secretary General's report itself records, quote, Kosovo authorities continued closing Serbia-run institutions, including the Pension Disability Insurance Fund and the National Employment Service in Leposavić, the city library and the premises of the city museum in Northern Mitrovica, the branch of the Serbian Red Cross in Zubin Potok, and the sports hall in Leposavić. The report further notes that, quote, international actors criticize these closures for impeding access to services and facilities by residents and affecting their social, economic, and cultural rights. Worse still, ethnically motivated assaults have become routine, with Serbian children bearing the brunt. Since Albin Kurti seized power, 37 attacks on Serbian youth have scarred our communities, and just last week, the region watched in horror as a minor Serbian girl narrowly escaped kidnapping, her only crime being her ethnicity. This brave child screamed for help, averting disaster through sheer will. Yet her assailants walk free, unpunished. This is a chilling message to every Serb. Your life is expendable. Your safety, dignity, and childhood mean nothing. If you are Serb, no vulnerability, youth, age, innocence shields you. You are marked simply for existing. This systemic denial of rights isn't just a Serbian tragedy. It is a profound moral failure to act. I ask, what future awaits children who learn to hide their Serbian tongue from cradle to grave? These atrocities are no accidents. They stem from Pristina's cultivated hatred, embodied by Kurti's doctrine of slow-motion ethnic cleansing. His aim: drive Serbs from their homes, sacred sites, and land. This is now being further aggravated by the worrying militarization of Kosovo and Metohija through the accelerated arming of the so-called Kosovo Security Force and the recent delivery of armed killer drones by a neighboring country. Such developments threaten to destabilize the frail security architecture painstakingly maintained in the region. Serbia has repeatedly cautioned that building peace cannot mean arming one side while disregarding the legitimate security concerns of another. This reverses the hard-won progress achieved during President Donald Trump's first term, which ignited hope for regional stability and partnership. Kurti's war isn't against political foes, it's against an entire people. Politically charged arrests, institutional abuse for intimidation, secret warrants against Serbian leaders, these erode the rule of law, isolating and marginalizing our community. Alarming too are the escalating assaults on Serbian Orthodox Church sites, humanity's cultural treasures. Monasteries endure desecration not as random vandalism, but as deliberate erosion. You do not belong, this is the message. Kurti's regime interrogates clergy, renames ancient heritage, and shatters institutions essential to community life. This is echoed in Secretary General's report, which recorded numerous incidents affecting Serbian Orthodox and Catholic sites in non-majority areas, and this is a quote from the report, including vandalism, illegal construction, and harassment of clergy. Just consider Kosovska Mitrovica, a cherished Serbian language sign in Cyrillic, emblazoned with a red heart, was torn down and replaced with Albanian script and a green hue. This isn't bureaucracy, it is symbolic warfare, suppressing language, rejecting Christian icons, and wiping out Serbian traces. Add the renaming of Lake Trump, a name chosen by local Serbs to honor peace efforts, and Kurti's intolerance is laid bare. As President Donald Trump said before this very organization, quote, "If our goal is lasting peace, we must learn to see the world through the eyes of others." This is precisely what Kurti refuses to do, and what Serbia continues to call for: mutual respect, justice, and genuine coexistence. The report documents that, quote, "local authorities painted over murals and graffiti in all 4 municipalities in northern Kosovo that depicted Serbian symbols, including those related to the Serbian Orthodox Church, and that, quote, websites of Kosovo institutions systemically disregarded the law on the usage of languages, instilling traffic signs exclusively in Albanian language." In this cauldron of fear, over 20% of remaining Serbs have fled in recent years, a silent exodus betraying our collective failure to ensure basic safety. Only 17 voluntary returns were recorded in this period, against 230,000 displaced since 1999. Is this the multi-ethnic society we proclaim? How can coexistence thrive when returns are blocked by terror? How can we speak of democracy and rule of law amid mass flight? How can progress claim victory when survival demands silence? Ladies and gentlemen, yet the Serbian spirit in Kosovo and Metohija endures, unbreakable. This resilience shown in the October 12 local elections, where the Serbian list triumphed in 9 of 10 Serb majority municipalities in the first round. This isn't mere politics, it is defiance. Serbs, amid pressure and intimidation, affirm faith in Serbia, democracy, and self-determination. Even Albanians increasingly reject Kurti's radicalism, craving peace over division. To the brave Serbs of Kosovo and Metohija, I want to send a message. Your perseverance inspires us all. Or in Serbian, we are with you, mi smo sa vama. Know that Serbia stands firmly by your side, committed to your protection and prosperity. These victories nearly vanished. Kurti sought to ban the Serbian list, stripping Serbs of electoral rights. He flouts Kosovo's so-called constitution by installing loyalists overriding voters' will. This is not just our assessment. The UN report itself states that, quote, the Central Election Commission rejected the certification of the Serbian list and the Serbian democratic parties, and notes that the Quint, the European Union office in Kosovo, and ANMI criticized the decision, warning that such actions undermine democratic principles and erode trust in Kosovo's institutions. Serbia remains a steadfast partner in EU-facilitated dialogue with Pristina. Under the leadership of President Vučić, who has tirelessly worked toward regional stability and economic growth, we seek compromise, not conflict. Protection for our people, not domination. But dialogue demands mutual goodwill. Serbia offers it. Pristina should reciprocate. Today, I issue a resounding call. After 12 years, Pristina must form the community of Serb-majority municipalities. This isn't Serbia's whim. It's Pristina's binding pledge to the EU and its own citizens, a cornerstone for Serb rights and security. Kurti sabotages dialogue, unraveling Brussels agreements and Washington Accord, halting projects, rejecting diplomas, harassing faiths. He undermines President Trump's peace legacy, stoking Balkan tensions anew. This reckless behavior is compounded by the ongoing militarization of Kosovo, which risks escalating tensions further. Delivering of lethal drone systems and other offensive capabilities to the so-called Kosovo Security Force deepens mistrust, undermines regional confidence, and contradicts the spirit of restraint that this Council has long advocated. Despite all, Serbia champions stability, partnership over provocation, dialogue over discord. We claim nothing unjust but defend our rights and people fiercely. Peace must rest on justice. Every revisionism meets our unyielding truth. Distinguished members, ANMIC's role is indispensable, its mandate untouchable. Reducing it would embolden force over law. Serbia demands ANMIC's full, undiminished presence to shield against those who scorn human rights. We insist on open Security Council sessions on ANMIC. Transparency ensures truth that prevails and not hidden agendas. Ladies and gentlemen, Serbia is no obstacle. We are the solution, a stable, law-abiding ally. Peace isn't unilateral. It crumbles if victims are silenced, children terrorized, peoples erased. The Secretary General himself has underscored that, quote, concerns raised by non-majority communities, in particular the Kosovo Serb community in northern Kosovo, regarding the closure of institutions and facilities providing essential services, need to be addressed. Safeguarding the economic and social rights of non-majority communities remains crucial, end quote. He further urges the Kosovo authorities to safeguard and advance human rights with full respect for due process in international human rights standards, including the rights of children as enshrined in the Convention on the Rights of Child, end quote. I envision for the future Serbian-Albanian friendship, as recent bilateral strides between Serbia and Albania prove possible, free from Kurti's apartheid-like nationalism. Once imprisoned, Kurti now mirrors his own captors, drunk on power and ethno supremacy. Let this session renew the UN's 80-year mission, defend justice, peace, dignity. Ignoring Serb rights violations erodes global order. Serbia trusts dialogue, cherishes peace, seeks compromise, but silence before injustice is complicity. Thus, Serbia urges this Council and the world: uphold ANMIC fully, condemn Serb rights abuses, defend international law as the bedrock of security. We extend our hand in dialogue, yet safeguard our people, dignity, and sovereignty with resolve. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency, Mr. Juric, for his statement, and I give the floor now to Madam Donika Gërvalla-Schwarz.
Mr. President of the Council, Excellencies, distinguished members of the UN Security Council, the state of the Republic of Kosovo is strong. Our strength derives from our people, from our Western democracy, and from our strong economy. We have had democratic elections for the National Parliament this year, described by both national and international observers as free and fair. We have also had democratic elections at the local level just in October, which were free and fair as well. For the 5th time in a row, the World Bank has ranked Kosovo among the top leaders of economic growth in all of Europe. While other countries are struggling, the projection for our growth is again about 4% per year for 2025 and also for 2026. Foreign direct investments are increasing and customs and tax revenues are increasing as well. Kosovo ranks 1st in Europe and 3rd in the world in the Law and Order Index with 94 out of 100 points. This is the result of the hard work and energy of the people in the youngest country in Europe, with the youngest population and with the most optimistic mindset, as measured in international polls. Let me make clear that there is no Kosovo i Metohia. It doesn't exist, ladies and gentlemen. Kosovo i Metohia as an expression is a clear expression of hegemonistic ambitions of Serbia over Kosovo. To keep it simple, it is the old language of Slobodan Milosevic and those who follow him still. Kosovo is a pure Western democracy in the Western Balkans. The support for NATO and the United States is at a 90% level in our country. We are the most pro-NATO and the most pro-US country in the world. We were saved from an ongoing genocide by the civilized world through NATO's intervention. About 13,000 people were killed by Serbian atrocities, instigated by a war criminal, President Milosevic, and his president during this genocide was Mr. Vučić, who is now the president of Serbia. So we are not talking about history, but about the present. And in the present, Serbia is a real threat to the region. We watch daily the relentless propaganda machine of Vučić-controlled media, see the hatred that is systematically spread, poisoning Serbian society. And we see the systematic spread of propaganda preparing a military aggression against our country. Across Serbia, you can see huge graffiti, big murals like this one. Where it is written, when the army returns to Kosovo. Yes, there is not written if the army returns to Kosovo. It is written when. They do not hide their goals. They are clear about it, openly. They just leave the timing open. Yes, we are in favor of dialogue, and I really want to use this occasion to comment the work of Mr. Sørensen in trying to find a way how we can come to a good result, even with rejecting Serbia. But please, we need a real dialogue, not deception by Vučić, whose strategy towards the EU is betrayal and towards his neighbors is hybrid warfare up to paramilitary aggression. Yes, reducing tensions. As the smaller neighbor, we have every interest to reduce tensions with our aggressive neighbor, who has a military machine equipped by far beyond what is necessary for defense, equipped even by Russia and China. and for the first time in history, it has undertaken military exercises even with China, in China, just a few weeks back. That is the reality. Many other presentations are wishful thinking. Therefore, we have to be as clear as possible here at the highest UN body, whose most important obligation from the UN Charter is to preserve peace. The fact of the matter is, Serbia has proven in 2023 that it is ready for war. Vučić can only be deterred, not convinced. A racist mindset is not something you can simply wish or talk away. In September 2023, Serbia carried out a military-grade attack against the Republic of Kosovo, sending paramilitaries trained and equipped by Serbia with anti-tank, anti-aircraft, and other sophisticated weapons, with plans to carve out the northern territory of our country by force. The commander of that incursion was Vučić's right-hand man for Kosovo. Meanwhile, Vučić keeps hosting him as a guest of honor of the regime. It is impunity for murder, for aggression. The international community has to pressure the regime. If there are no consequences, they will escalate further because they have nothing to fear but words. The current Serbian Foreign Minister, Đurić, knows that murderer very well. He has no problem with murderers and with violence. He may have a soft voice, ladies and gentlemen, but he sat down for coffee after the Banjska aggression with the murderer Radojčić. Đurić was Vučić's representative for Kosovo for years, colluding with extremists, overseeing a massive increase in violence and threats against Serb citizens by Serb criminals and terrorists. He was a partner in crime, corruption, and suppression. Then we came into power, and that story ended. We freed those citizens, mostly Serb Kosovar citizens, from the brutal grip of organized crime. Unfortunately, none of that you will know if you read the UNMIK reports. Kosovo is not the country described in a biased and incomplete UNMIK report, which omits basic facts. Russia's and Serbia's propaganda machines are investing a lot to distort reality, to claim that our Serb citizens are being driven out of the country. Here's the catch. Does anyone here know any country that invests millions for 2,000 jobs in a region with less than 30,000 people only to drive them out? Does anyone know any country that allows foreign hostile payments to its own citizens while at the same time paying pensions, child benefits, and social transfers itself? Nothing of that you will find in the UNMIK report. We are against any discrimination, but we will also not tolerate that the horrors of the past return. Never again. We fight extremism and we fight for tolerance and the rule of law, like any other normal European country. Serbia is not a normal European country. It is ready to bully, to threaten, and to attack peaceful neighbors. That is why we know how to distinguish between Belgrade regime and the Serb citizens. Months ago, Serbia arrested former police officer Arbnor Spahiju while he was traveling through Serbia with his family. The accusation? Alleged involvement in the defense against the Serbian attack on Banjska. At that time, however, Arbnor Spahiju had long left the police service and was living abroad. But this case clearly demonstrates the extent of Serbia's involvement in the Banjska attack and its pursuit of retaliation against those who defended Kosovo and resisted Radojčić and the other paramilitaries involved in the Banjska operation. From this very place, I call on Serbia to immediately release Arbnor Spahiju. The situation in the Balkans is not complicated. It is not about tensions or ethnic divisions or history. It's about the present and about real threats. If you take the Vučić regime out of the equation, the Balkans is all peace and cooperation. There is no quarrel between Albania, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Kosovo, or Bosnia. On the contrary, we trade, we travel, and we all share the same European and Euro-Atlantic destiny, except Serbia. Serbia's regime is constantly trying to interfere in Kosovo, in Bosnia, in Montenegro, and in North Macedonia. It is fundamentally wrong and highly dangerous to search for a solution by appeasing the Vučić regime. It doesn't work, not for Kosovo, not for Bosnia, because it is all about extremist ideologies pursued by the biggest and most aggressive country in the region. For a reason, many call it Little Russia, because Russia is deeply embedded in Serbia, in politics, government, secret services, the economy, the energy sector, the media, even the military, just everywhere. We must not be distracted by false propaganda. We must face reality. It's not about 4 small municipalities. It's about Russia, its allies, and geopolitics. It will surely not be the biased UNMIK report that defines the future of our region. UNMIK has to be closed. It is a huge waste of UN money. It serves no purpose anymore. If it were gone tomorrow, nothing would change in Kosovo and its citizens. The outcome in the region will be defined by the battle between Western democracies and autocracies for influence in this part of Europe. We need a thorough analysis of facts on the ground to find a geopolitical answer to Serbia, Russia, and China, who want to seize control over that part of Europe within EU and NATO geography. Again, this is not, definitely not, about Kosovo. Kosovo is just fine. As I said, our citizens, our youth, our women, our economy, our growth, our military, and our police all are thriving. Kosovo has the strength and the willpower to weather any storm. We are pursuing our path to Euro-Atlantic integration. Serbia is going in the other direction, towards Russia. Our warning is clear. Do not wait too long. Do not risk another Balkan war by focusing on the wrong questions instead of tackling the real danger. I thank you so much.
I thank Madam Gërvalla Schwartz for her statement, and I now give the floor to those members of the Council who wish to make statements, and I give the floor to the representative of China.
President, first I welcome Foreign Minister Đurić of Serbia to today's meeting. I thank Deputy SISG Milbert Dong Zhenshen for his briefing. I make 4 points. First, it is imperative to maintain social stability. For some time now, the situation in northern Kosovo has been volatile. The Kosovo authorities forced the closure of multiple institutions opened by the Serb community, targeted Serbs with violent searches, threats, and coercion, and forcefully built and opened the Ibar River Bridge. These acts violate the legitimate rights and interests of the Serbs and lead to panic and tensions. China expresses grave concerns over these developments. We urge the Kosovo authorities to cease escalatory unilateral actions, earnestly safeguard the safety and legitimate rights interests of the Serb community, and maintain peace and stability in the north. Second, committed efforts are needed to promote ethnic reconciliation. The complex ethnic relations in Balkans have been shaped by history. Inclusion and reconciliation serve the long-term and fundamental interests of all communities. Lately, divisions simmered among parties over Kosovo parliamentary elections, underscoring the urgently needed ethnic reconciliation. we call on the Kosovo authorities to take seriously the basic appeals of all communities, including Serbs, in political, economic, culture, and linguistic domains, and adopt proactive measures to foster a stronger sense of security, participation, and fulfillment, contributing to greater mutual trust and unity among communities. The 2013 Brussels Agreement explicitly provides for the establishment of an association of Serb-majority municipalities, charting a course for harmonious coexistence between Serb and Albanian communities. The Kosovo authorities should expedite the implementation of relevant commitments. Third, we must steadfastly advance dialogue and negotiation. China welcomes the 2 EU-facilitated meetings between Serbia and Kosovo and notes the challenges faced by the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue process. The crux of the issue lies in Kosovo authorities' long-standing unilateral actions and the ensuing mutual trust deficit and heightened ethnic antagonism. We look forward to the Kosovo authorities' constructive measures to encourage engagement of the parties, bridge differences and division, and seek an early political settlement of relevant issues. Fourth, we must firmly support the role of the UN. The UN's presence is a strong guarantee for resolving the Kosovo issue. The Security Council should maintain attention to and input in the Kosovo issue and support UNMIC in playing its role for the stability and national reconciliation in Kosovo. The Kosovo authorities should earnestly respect and ensure the safety and security of UNMIC personnel and premises and provide convenience for the mission to conduct its work. President, China's position on Kosovo issue is consistent and clear. We support the parties concerned within the framework of Council Resolution 1244 in reaching a mutually acceptable solution through dialogue and consultation. In this process, Serbia's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity should be fully respected. China stands ready to work with all parties to continue to promote dialogue, engagement, and peaceful coexistence among communities of the region, and the early political settlement of the Kosovo issue. Thank you.
I thank the representative of China for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Somalia.
Mr. President, at the outset, I would like to thank Deputy SRSG Shin for his comprehensive briefing. Somalia welcomes the participation of His Excellency Mr. Duric, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Serbia, Ms. Gërvalla Schwartz, and Mr. Lambrinidis, head of the delegation of the European Union to the United Nations. We have carefully reviewed the Secretary General's latest report and recognize the important role that UNMIC continues to play in supporting peace, stability, and dialogue in the region. Our delegation appreciates the commitment of all parties to constructive engagement and acknowledges the ongoing efforts to address outstanding challenges through peaceful means. We take note of the steps taken towards the constitution of the Assembly of Kosovo. It's essential that all parties work together constructively to ensure the completion of this process in an inclusive manner and in accordance with Kosovo's constitutional standards. With local elections continuing in November, Somalia urges all political actors in Kosovo to foster the conditions necessary for a peaceful, free, and inclusive electoral process. We reaffirm our continued and unwavering support for the European Union facilitated dialogue, which remains the principal framework for resolving outstanding issues between Belgrade and Pristina. We call on both parties to reaffirm their commitment to this dialogue and to avoid any actions or rhetoric that could undermine trust or escalate tensions. It's vital that all unresolved matters be addressed constructively and in good faith with the meaningful participation of all stakeholders, including women, to ensure that solutions are comprehensive and sustainable. To conclude, Mr. President, we express our appreciation for the outgoing Special Representative Ms. Carolina Zayda, and the entire UNMIC team for their tireless efforts in promoting dialogue and building trust on the ground. We further acknowledge the valuable cooperation among UNMIC, the United Nations Kosovo team, and key partners including KFOR, OSCE, and the European Union. The continued unified support of this Council for diplomatic engagement remains essential. The international community stands ready to assist all parties in their pursuit of mutually acceptable and peaceful solutions. We encourage all stakeholders to prioritize engagement through established frameworks and to demonstrate restraint in both words and actions. Lasting peace will require patience, sustained commitment, and a collective dedication to diplomatic engagement. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Somalia for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to begin by expressing my appreciation to Deputy SLSG Shin for his comprehensive and timely briefing. The Republic of Korea also welcomes the participation of His Excellency Mr. Marko Đurić, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Serbia, and Her Excellency Ms. Donika Gërvalla, Deputy Prime Minister of Kosovo in this meeting. Mr. President, the 2023 Belgrade-Pristina agreements reached under EU facilitation represented a positive step in normalizing relations between Kosovo and Serbia. Yet, persistent challenges continue to threaten progress. Despite these difficulties, we remain confident that sustainable normalization can only be achieved through political dialogue and negotiations within the EU-facilitated framework. The Secretary General's report outlined several long-standing regional concerns that continue to pose obstacles to peace and stability. We welcome the recent progress made in overcoming the 8-month stalemate in Kosovo Assembly, while recognizing that institutional challenges and political tensions will remain between Belgrade and Pristina, including during the period between the last spring's parliamentary elections and the lead up to this month's local elections. In this context, my delegation would like to make the following points. First, we continue to support the EU's effort to facilitate progress toward normalization. In this regard, we commend the efforts of Mr. Sorensen, the EU Special Representative for the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue, for his continued engagement with both sides, his contribution to encouraging implementation of existing agreements. We also echo the Secretary General's message urging the two parties to recommit to EU-facilitated dialogue and to refrain from volatile rhetoric and unilateral action. Only by addressing issues in good faith within the agreed framework can Kosovo move forward and leave behind the most painful aspect of its history. Second, during the reporting period, both sides undertook actions and rhetoric that risked further heightening tensions and undermining mutual trust. The Republic of Korea remains deeply concerned about any steps that may erode confidence, weaken the rule of law, deviate from the framework of the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue. We also emphasize the importance of accountability, restraint, and respect for human rights as essential foundations for lasting peace and reconciliation. The issue of missing persons should likewise continue to receive priority attention as it directly affects trust between communities. Third, despite ongoing tension, some positive developments have reinforced trust building and cooperation. The Barabar Center, a flagship program empowering vulnerable and marginalized groups, hosted 37 events and welcomed over 3,000 participants from different ethnic groups. Initiatives such as Women, Peace and Security Forum and Youth Assembly in Kosovo also have further encouraged dialogue and mutual understanding among communities. Finally, we reiterate our strong support for UNMIC as it continues to engage constructively with both parties while coordinating closely with KFOR, UREX, and other international partners. We highly value the commitment of these institutions to promoting a peaceful coexistence in Kosovo. At the same time, we also recognize a more streamlined vision of roles could enhance overall effectiveness, as some of the UNMIC's initial functions have been assumed by other institutions. In closing, Mr. President, as this is the last scheduled security meeting of this year, we reiterate our consistent position that the Republic of Korea supports the pursuit of political normalization through peaceful means. We remain hopeful through dialogue, cooperation, a steadfast commitment to democracy and rule of law, peace and stability will once again prevail in Kosovo, paving the way for peaceful and prosperous future for all its community. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Republic of Korea for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I thank Deputy Special Representative Mr. Shin for his briefing, and welcome Ministers Juric and Gërvalla Schwartz at today's briefing, as well as the head of the EU delegation, Ambassador Lambrinidis. Let me also take this opportunity to thank Ms. Caroline Siade for her work leading the mission in Kosovo for more than 3.5 years. Mr. President, Denmark welcomes the peaceful, inclusive, and competitive conduct of the first round of local elections held on 12th October. We were pleased to see all communities take part in the elections, reflecting the spirit of inclusivity and democratic engagement. We call on both Serbia and Kosovo to increase their commitment to the EU-facilitated dialogue. As newly appointed Special Representative for the dialogue, Mr. Peter Sorensen has said very clearly, it is time to move forward. Substantial agreements are already in place through the dialogue. Now they must be implemented. According to these agreements, Kosovo must establish the Association of Serb Majority Municipalities, and Serbia must refrain from opposing Kosovo's membership of international organizations. Normalization of relations is in the interest of all people of Kosovo and Serbia. It would benefit regional peace, security, and long-term stability. Mr. President, progress requires restraint, mutual respect, and political courage. Overcoming the current political stalemate in Kosovo is key for ensuring progress, reconciliation, and building trust. In this respect, Denmark calls for the full respect of the constitutional processes and ensuring inclusive institutions and preservation of their multi-ethnic character. We urge political leaders to be responsible in the rhetoric, recognizing the impacts word can have. It is in the hands of you to lay the foundation for cooperation and common understanding between communities. Denmark is deeply concerned about the situation in northern Kosovo. We urge all actors to exercise restraint and refrain from unilateral actions that could escalate tensions and undermine stability. It is essential that concerns of non-majority communities are effectively addressed, especially in relation to the closure of Serbia-run institutions delivering essential services. These issues should be resolved within the EU-facilitated dialogue. We further call on the Kosovo government to intensify efforts for the return of Kosovo Serb judges, prosecutors, and police officers to the Kosovo institutions. We'd also like to stress that Serbia needs to take all necessary measures to prosecute perpetrators of the violent attacks in Banjka that happened more than 2 years ago. Genuine commitment to these outstanding issues is the only way to build trust. Mr. President, we commend UNMIC for their important work in enhancing trust and inter-ethnic dialogue in Kosovo. This is especially important with regard to the youth, who make up around half of the population. We also welcome the vital cooperation between the mission and the UN Kosovo team, as well as other international partners, including EULEX and KFOR. It is the Council's responsibility to ensure that mandates are regularly reviewed to ensure that they reflect the realities on the ground. As the current mandate is from 1999, Denmark remains ready to discuss a possible strategic review of the mission. Before concluding, let me reiterate Denmark's long-standing and continued support of a peaceful, prosperous, and multi-ethnic Kosovo. We fully support its European aspirations and full integration in the international system. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Denmark for her statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Guyana.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Deputy SRSG Shin for his briefing. I also thank former SRSG Caroline Ziade for her leadership of the United Nations Administration Mission in Kosovo, UNMIK, and for her efforts to advance peace. We welcome the participation of His Excellency Mr. Marko Đurić, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Serbia, and Her Excellency Ms. Donika Gërvalla, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs and Diaspora of Kosovo, and His Excellency Stavros Lambrinidis, Head of the Delegation of the European Delegation, in today's meeting. Mr. President, Guyana reiterates its support for UNMIK, as the mission continues to play an important role in the promotion of security, stability, and social cohesion in Kosovo. Additionally, it provides critical reporting that informs this Council of important developments on the ground. UNMIK's continued engagement with stakeholders and their activities geared towards promoting social cohesion among Kosovo's diverse population is commendable. Its trust-building agenda is especially vital to the maintenance of stability and to finding a path to lasting peace. Mr. President, since her last meeting on this agenda item, Kosovo has faced significant political hurdles in their efforts to form a new government. We are encouraged by the recent breakthroughs with the election of the full Assembly leadership and call on all political leaders to work together towards the approval of a cabinet that can capably represent all Kosovars. We commend the peaceful and orderly manner in which the municipal elections were held just over a week ago. We have noted the reports on the preliminary results and remain optimistic that the process will proceed in line with the rule of law and democratic principles. Kosovo's path towards securing its statehood and European integration relies on its ability to demonstrate responsible and inclusive governance. In this regard, it is incumbent upon its political leaders to show a firm commitment to international law, including respect for the human rights of its entire population. We are concerned by actions taken by authorities, including the closing of Serbian-run institutions, as was highlighted in the Secretary General's report. We share the assessment that these unilateral actions risk heightening tensions and undermining the progress made in recent years through the EU-facilitated dialogue. Guyana urges the authorities in Kosovo to refrain from implementing policies that could have potentially negative impacts on the livelihood of ethnic minorities or lead to a further deterioration of the tenuous relations between Belgrade and Pristina. We also call upon the Serb authorities to similarly avoid unilateral actions that may strain relations. Mr. President, a commitment to building trust in multi-ethnic societies is paramount to realizing national unity and stability. But such commitment must be manifested in concrete action. Diversity can be a powerful source of strength, but there must be investment in it, including eschewing harmful rhetoric and promoting inclusion, tolerance, and harmony. If not, diversity can become a source of division, including through manipulation of unaddressed grievances. Guyana continues to believe that the party's best avenue to secure a just and lasting peace is through the EU-facilitated dialogue. We regret that the implementation of agreements for the normalization of relations has not progressed. We call on the parties to recommit to dialogue and to take the necessary steps that are in line with agreements already reached. In conclusion, Guyana reaffirms its support for an independent, democratic Kosovo. Both the peoples of Kosovo and Serbia are deserving of the opportunity to pursue their prosperity in two peaceful, neighborly states. With leaders committed to democratic ideals, the rule of law, and the advancement of human rights, this future is possible. I thank you.
I thank Guyana for the statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Deputy Special Representative Milbert Shin, for your briefing. Colleagues, the ultimate goal of a peacekeeping mission should be to enable the conditions that obviate the need for the mission. UNMIC long ago helped bring about those conditions. There is no security crisis in Kosovo, and UNMIC no longer has a role in the governance of Kosovo. The time has come to draw down the mission. Mr. Shin, we recognize UNMIC's efforts to foster dialogue and legal reform in Kosovo. Those are helpful. But the reality is that UNMIC is a bloated peacekeeping mission without peacekeepers, with 81% of the mission's budget funding staff salaries, working on functions that should be done by other organizations. It is time to begin the important work of transferring those functions away from UNMIC to the agencies better suited for the task, as we begin the process of gradually closing the mission. The mission is currently undergoing a staffing review, and we expect this process to be taken seriously as an opportunity to streamline the mission instead of recklessly justifying the mission's existence. Wasteful spending damages the United Nations as a whole. As we have said time and again, the United States is committed to identifying and eliminating unnecessary wasteful spending in the United Nations in order to ensure relevance and maximum impact for the money spent. The United Nations must return to its original purpose of maintaining international peace and security and resolving conflicts. As a council, we must support ending missions when they are no longer needed. The United States calls on fellow council members to revisit UNMIC's mandate so that we may wind down its operations. This transition is overdue. Colleagues, if we are steadfastly committed to the cause of peace, we must also ensure the time and resources of the Council are spent efficiently where most needed. These frequent performative meetings on UNMIC are wasteful and diminish the important work this Council must do. This meeting is not advancing international peace and security. It is giving a political platform to some domestic audiences. These meetings damage the institution. The United States urges Kosovo and Serbia to work to lower tensions, refrain from escalatory measures, and build peace and stability between them, with the ultimate goal of mutual recognition. These are the admirable goals that the United States supports. Colleagues, I urge all of us to ensure our time and resources are spent on the most pressing matters. Let us get back to the basics of peace and security. Thank you.
I now give the floor to the representative of Slovenia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Deputy SRSG Milbert Shin for his briefing, and I welcome ministers to the chamber. Slovenia commends EULEX, EU Rule of Law Mission, KFOR, UNMIC, and EU facilitated dialogue for their ongoing efforts to maintain stability, normalize relations, and promote sustainable governance and regional cooperation in Kosovo. I also want to express my appreciation for former SRSG Caroline Zajede for her work. Colleagues, there are many lessons learned from the 26 years of existence of UNMIC in Kosovo. Lessons learned for our dealing with Kosovo, as well as for other situations, like the one in Gaza. UNMIC was established after the conflict in Kosovo ended. Serbian forces and Serbian civilian administration withdrew from Kosovo. And as the name suggests, UN interim administration in Kosovo, the Security Council authorized UNMIC to govern Kosovo in an interim period. UNMIC was vested all legislative and executive authority. Responsibilities were shared between the UN and regional organizations. Apart from the overall responsibilities, UNMIK was in charge of civilian administration, including law and order. UNHCR took over the humanitarian part. Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe worked on institution building and democratization. The EU on economic development, civil society, and normalization of relations. NATO was the security provider and led the process of disarming KLA fighters. Apologies for venturing into the history of UNMIK, but looking back at its early years, we can identify two key takeaways. First, how much the situation in Kosovo has changed, has progressed past 26 years, and thus the need for UNMIK to adjust. And second, how much UNMIK experience from the early years can be informative for reflection on the model for future interim governance and security in Gaza. On the first point, the progress of Kosovo. The overall security situation in Kosovo remains stable. We welcome the recent formation of the Kosovo Assembly, which we see as an important step in resolving institutional uncertainty. We are encouraged by the successful conduct of local elections with participation from Kosovo Serbs. This represents one of the crucial steps toward inclusive, citizen-oriented local governance necessary for long-term stability. Equitable representation of non-majority communities in public institutions, especially judiciary, police, and local administration, is vital for building confidence in governance. Equal access to services, justice, education, and social welfare is a cornerstone of stability. The association community of Serb-majority municipalities should be established to promote inclusion and empowerment. Accountability for violence, including the September 2023 Banska attack, must be ensured with due process. Our messages are consistent, and we continue to call for mutual acceptance, strategic patience, dialogue, restraint for unilateral actions, and harmful rhetoric. What we need is a political will to fully and unconditionally implement the EU-facilitated Brussels agreements and its Ohrid Annex. Further spirit of compromise will be needed for long-term normalization of relations. On UNMIK, reflecting on the past should inform us about the future. Many things have changed in Kosovo since the end of the conflict. Kosovo declared independence in 2008 and took control of its affairs with regular cycle of elections and functioning institutions. European-led dialogue on normalization of relations between Pristina and Belgrade continues since 2011. And Kosovo is now first security provider in Kosovo with ULEX and NATO as backup forces. For many years now, UNMIK is not implementing its initial mandate. We believe it may soon be the right moment for a thoughtful and realistic discussion, perhaps a strategic review on the future of UNMIK's engagement. Colleagues, as we learned from SG report and today from Deputy SRSG and the two ministers, there are still many issues that Kosovo and its communities need to deal with to rebuild trust and dialogue and to provide a better and reassuring future for many communities, especially a Serb one. The European path of peace, reconciliation, and cooperation is the key to open those doors. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Slovenia for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of the United Kingdom.
I thank Deputy Special Representative Milbert Shin for his briefing and for the work he and his team are doing in Kosovo. I would also like to thank former SRSG Caroline Ziade for her leadership and her service during her tenure. And I welcome the participation of the ministers of Serbia and Kosovo in today's meeting, as well as that of the head of the EU delegation. I will make 3 points. First, the United Kingdom remains a steadfast supporter of Kosovo's democratic development and Euro-Atlantic path. As the first country to recognise Kosovo's independence, we call upon those member states who have not yet done so to join the majority. Recognition is essential for long-term stability and for unlocking Kosovo's full potential. We encourage swift progress towards the formation of a government in Kosovo with a clear parliamentary mandate, and we commend the smooth conduct of the recent municipal elections. We are concerned, however, by some recent statements that risk undermining fundamental state institutions, including the Constitutional Court. Strong and inclusive institutions are vital to advancing Kosovo's international integration and to delivering for all its citizens. Second, the return of Kosovo Serb mayors to majority Serb municipalities in northern Kosovo marks a welcome return to a fully representative local government. We encourage all sides to ensure this transition is carried out in full respect of the rule of law and to enable the reintegration of eligible Kosovo Serb officials into Kosovo's institutions. 2 years on from the Banska attack, the United Kingdom reiterates our call on Serbia to play its part in reducing tensions and bringing those responsible to justice, including Milan Radojcic. Accountability for this and the attacks on KFOR troops earlier that year is long overdue. We continue to call on Kosovo and Serbia to resolve outstanding disagreements through the EU-facilitated dialogue. Full implementation of all commitments made, including the establishment of an association of Serb-majority municipalities, is essential to building trust and ensuring long-term stability. We also welcome the constructive engagement of both parties in regional initiatives, including the Berlin process that the UK chaired this year. This has helpfully reinforced good neighbourly relations and shared commitments to stability. Third, with growing pressure on UN budgets, resources must be directed where they deliver greatest impact, not tied to legacy missions with outdated mandates. As we have long said, conditions on the ground in Kosovo are unrecognisable from 1999. A strategic review of UNMIC's role, responsibilities and funding is overdue. The civilian staffing review must deliver real efficiencies through a genuine assessment of what is needed and what is not. In this year of UN80 reform, the Council should ensure UNMIC is agile, efficient and fit for purpose in a world of constrained resources and global crises. I thank you.
I now give the floor to the representative of Panama.
Gracias.
Thank you, Mr. President. We acknowledge the presence of the delegations of Kosovo, Serbia, and the European Union, whose participation today honors us. We'd also like to express our thanks to the Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary-General, Milbert Dongjun Shin, for his detailed briefing. Panama welcomes the recent holding of local elections in Kosovo. The preliminary results of these reflect a democratic and competitive process that fortunately unfolded in a largely peaceful environment. The fact that most of the municipalities are now headed towards a runoff bears out the vitality and diversity in the country. In light of this dynamism befitting of any electoral contest, we respectfully call on all political actors to maintain calm, mutual respect, and commitment to the entire democratic process, including respect for the legitimate electoral results. Further, we take note of the reports that mention a certain fragility in the security situation in northern Kosovo. These, however, do fortunately confirm that general stability in the country remains intact. More broadly, we hope that the current challenges in institutional formation can soon be overcome, and so that Kosovo can form a fully functioning government that enhances social cohesion, governance, and public trust in institutions. In this context, we reiterate that this process must respect constitutional principles, reflect the country's diversity, and guarantee that all communities, both majority and non-majority, feel truly represented. In the same vein, we trust that conversations between Pristina and Belgrade can progress with genuine commitment on both sides, leading to concrete results for the benefit of the entire region. In this context, Panama recognizes the important roles of the United Nations Interim Administration Mission in Kosovo, UNMIK, the European Union Rule of Law Mission in Kosovo, EULEX, and European Union facilitation of the Belgrade-Pristina process. Their joint efforts have been fundamental to strengthening institutions, promoting reconciliation, and leading the parties towards a possible normalization of their relations. In the same sense, we welcome the holding in 2025 of the first meeting of the Working Group on Missing Persons. The right to know the truth as to the whereabouts of loved ones is an essential step towards healing wounds and moving towards reconciliation. President, Panama reaffirms its belief that dialogue and the inclusion of all, without any form of distinction, are crucial to forging peaceful coexistence. In this spirit, Panama encourages all parties to continue pursuing understanding, cooperation, and the quest for solutions that will guarantee the well-being, peace, and stability of the region. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Panama for his statement, and I give the floor to the representative of Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Mr. Milbert Shin, the Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary General for Kosovo, for his informative briefing. Sierra Leone welcomes the participation of Foreign Ministers Dorik and Gërvalla, as well as Ambassador Lambridinis in this meeting. We take note of the Secretary General's report, the quarterly reports of K4 activities, and the report of the European Union Rule of Law Mission, EULEX. We commend the collective efforts of regional and international partners and the coordination among organizations, particularly in strengthening governance and advancing normalization between Belgrade and Pristina, with the shared objective of accelerating progress towards European Union integration. We thank the European Union Special Representatives for the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue, for facilitating 2 trilateral meetings in Brussels on 9 June and 11 September 2025. We reiterate our call for the full implementation of the Ohrid and Brussels agreements and welcome the easing of restrictions aimed at building trust and sustaining dialogue. Sierra Leone wishes to make the following 4 points. First, we emphasize the critical role of political leadership in resolving the Kosovo question. We commend the progress made towards constituting the Assembly of Kosovo, including the election of its president and 4 of the 5 deputy presidents. We encourage completion of the process, including the election of the remaining deputy president from the Kosovo Serb community. We take note of the earlier constitutional challenges, the outcome of the 12 October 2025 local elections, and the importance of representation within Kosovo's institutions. As the political process progresses, we urge an orderly and inclusive approach. We call on all actors to avoid politicizing ethnic representation and to cooperate to complete the process in an inclusive manner in line with Kosovo's constitutional standards and to prioritize the collective interests of Kosovo's multi-ethnic population. Second, as Kosovo charts its path towards its institutions must be credible. We stress the need to preserve integrity and accountability, in particular within the justice sector and law enforcement institutions. We commend the contributions of OMIC and UNDP in strengthening justice institutions. We acknowledge the continued work of the specialist chambers and the specialist prosecutors in ensuring accountability for war crimes, as well as the important restorative efforts of Commission of Missing Persons. Transitional justice and reconciliation remain critical to healing divisions and fostering sustainable peace. We reiterate our call for swift and impartial investigations and, where needed, prosecutions concerning the 2023 incident. We remain concerned about efforts of excessive use of force in northern Kosovo, including incidents with a gender dimension. Retaliation measures only deepen divisions and must be avoided. We stress the importance of keeping policing free from politicization and ensuring that the Kosovo police act in a manner that upholds accountability and fosters public confidence. Third, we note with concern the continued lack of progress in establishing the association community of sub-majority municipalities. We call on Pristina to take immediate and tangible steps to address these challenges and on Belgrade to maintain its commitment to constructive engagement. We further caution against measures that jeopardize the social, economic, and cultural rights of any community, particularly the continued closure of key institutions in the northern municipalities. Public services must remain accessible to all communities, and public institutions should integrate members of every community. We therefore reiterate our call for the meaningful inclusion of Kosovo Serbs and all minority groups in law enforcement, the judiciary, the political decision-making processes. In this regard, we commend OMIC's continued efforts to promote intercommunity trust and to support women, peace, security, and youth, peace and security agendas. Fourth and finally, as the Balkans continue to seek lasting peace, regional stability remains on sustained dialogue, mutual trust, and restraint by all parties. We underscore the need for parties to prioritize the escalation, refrain from unilateral measures, and engage in the EU-facilitated dialogue aimed at normalizing relations between Belgrade and Pristina. In closing, Mr. President, let me reaffirm Sierra Leone's support for OMIC's mandate and presence, and recognizes its important role in building confidence, promoting human rights and the rule of law, supporting progress towards normalization between Belgrade and Pristina, strengthening institutions, and supporting long-term peace and stability in Kosovo and the wider region. We therefore join the Secretary General in expressing deep appreciation to the former Special Representative, Caroline Ziade, and the entire OMIC team for their contributions and unwavering support in fostering dialogue and trust in building Kosovo. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Sierra Leone for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I welcome the participation of Mr. Marko Đurić, Foreign Minister of Serbia. I also thank the Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary General for Kosovo, Mr. Milbert Donjongshin, for his valuable briefing. I also thank Ms. Caroline Ziade for her relentless efforts while chairing UNMIC. We have listened closely to the statement delivered by Ms. Donika Gërvalla. Mr. President, we are meeting today amidst important political developments in the territory of Kosovo. We have been closely following the ongoing local elections, the first round of which was held on the 12th of October. And we are awaiting the second round of these elections in November. And we hope that the process will proceed smoothly. We are also hopeful that the ongoing political process since the February elections will be completed in Kosovo, despite tensions among various political actors. These tensions could have negative consequences, fueling the existing tensions. Furthermore, we note the progress made in the EU-facilitated dialogue to implement the existing agreements between parties, knowing that many such agreements are still facing obstacles and difficulties, including the Brussels Agreement of 2013 and the Ohrid Agreement of 2023. At the same time, the concerns raised by the Serbian minority remain, especially following the unilateral measures adopted by the authorities in Kosovo, such as the closure of financial institutions and the closure of institutions providing essential services to the Serbian community in Kosovo. In this context, we would like to note the following. First, Algeria emphasizes the need to preserve security and peace in Kosovo. This is essential to achieve the desired stability. Algeria also calls on both parties to avoid any escalation, including the actions that might affect the social and economic situation of minority communities. This, in turn, will have negative repercussions on the existing situation. Second, Algeria emphasizes the importance of genuine engagement in the EU-led dialogue in order to enhance mutual understanding and to bring Belgrade and Pristina closer together, in addition to renewing commitment to the implementation of the relevant agreements. In this context, confidence building among communities remains vital in order to create a conducive environment for dialogue. Therefore, we reaffirm the need to adopt the necessary measures to create the Association of Serb-majority municipalities that is long awaited. Equally important is to guarantee sufficient representation of the Kosovo Serbs and other minorities in the local and judiciary institutions. Third, we encourage UNMIK to pursue its efforts to create favorable conditions for a peaceful life for all the residents of Kosovo without exception, and to strengthen regional stability, in addition to promoting the respect for human rights, the rule of law, gender equality, and the empowerment of women and youth. In conclusion, Algeria reaffirms its unwavering commitment to support all the efforts made in accordance with rules of international law and Security Council Resolution 1244 to reach a just and comprehensive solution between the parties. Thank you, President.
I thank the representative of Algeria for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Greece.
Mr. President, I thank Deputy Special Representative Shin for his informative briefing. I also welcome the presence of the ministers from Serbia and Kosovo to the Council, and as well as the participation of the head of the EU delegation at today's meeting. Greece expresses its appreciation to the former Special Representative of the Secretary General and former head of UNMIK, Mrs. Yade, for her leadership and valuable contributions in fostering respect for the rule of law and peaceful coexistence among all communities in Kosovo. I wish to make the following points. First, Greece remains strongly committed to supporting the normalization process of bilateral relations between Serbia and Kosovo within the framework of the European Union facilitated dialogue. It is imperative that both sides expedite their re-engagement in a constructive manner, aiming at a comprehensive and legally binding normalization agreement beneficial for the entire region. The full respect and implementation of the Brussels Ohrid agreements by both parties and without conditionality remain imperative in order to build trust and achieve progress in the dialogue. Greece reiterates its steadfast support to the dedicated efforts of the EU Special Representative for the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue, Peter Sorensen. We also welcome the latest trilateral meeting which took place within this framework in June and September this year and underlined the need for tangible progress. The future of Serbia and Kosovo lies within the EU. Since the adoption of the 2003 Thessaloniki Declaration of the EU Western Balkans Summit, Greece constantly provides its unwavering support to both parties in fulfilling their European aspirations. And we will continue to advocate the need for sincere dialogue and adherence to the principles of democracy, rule of law, and respect for international law, including the inviolability of international borders as the only viable path towards peace and stability in our region. Second, Greece welcomes the conclusion of the first round of municipal elections in Kosovo in a free, inclusive, and peaceful manner, as well as the active and meaningful participation of all communities in the election process. We stress once more that the rights of the Kosovo Serb community need to be fully respected and implemented, including the rights of unimpeded participation in local governance, law enforcement, and the judiciary. In this context, we reiterate the need for restoring as soon as possible Kosovo Serb police officers, judges, and prosecutors. The multi-ethnic character of Kosovo must be preserved. However, the situation in northern Kosovo remains fragile. We deplore the continuation of unilateral actions, especially the ongoing closure of Serb administrative structures, which are vital for the local population and have detrimental effects to the lives of Kosovo Serbs. Greece reiterates that the establishment of the association community of Serb-majority municipalities without preconditions remains essential for the stability and prosperity of northern Kosovo. It is essential part of the agreements that must be fully respected and implemented. At the same time, the perpetrators of the Bajska attack of 2023 must be brought to justice with no further delay and in full compliance with the rule of law principle. Accountability is key in order to consolidate peaceful coexistence and reconciliation between communities. We repeat our call to all sides for the absolute respect of human rights and freedoms of all communities in Kosovo. Third, UNMIC's mandate is closely intertwined with the Security Council Resolution 1244, which provides the legal framework for a final political settlement between Serbia and Kosovo. In this context, Greece acknowledges the important role of UNMIC in promoting reconciliation in Kosovo and supports the continuation of its mandate as necessary. UNMIC's long-standing engagement since 1999 for preserving peace and stability in the region is unquestionable. We are open to discuss ways of enhancing the mission's efficiency in accordance with the Security Council Resolution 1244 so that it continues to remain fit for purpose. UNMIK coordination with the Kosovo Force and the European Union Rule of Law Mission in Kosovo enhances trust building among all communities and meaningful integration of the most vulnerable groups, including women and youth. We also reiterate the need for the unimpeded and secure return of refugees and displaced persons. Finally, Mr. President, avoiding divisive rhetoric and consolidating reconciliation mechanism can reinstate trust and enhance peace, stability and prosperity in Kosovo and the wider region. Greece will continue to do its part in this regard. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Greece for her statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of France. Mr. President, I wish first and foremost to thank the Deputy Special Representative and Secretary General, Mr. Shin, for his statement. I also wish to welcome the presence among us of the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Serbia, Mr. Marko Đurić, and of Kosovo, Madam Donika Gërvalla, as well as the representative of the European Union, Mr. Stavros Lambrinidis. France applauds the conduct of the first round of municipal elections in Kosovo on the 12th of October last. The elections were carried out without incident and with the participation of all communities, as was observed by the members of the delegation of the Council of Europe, which carried out an electoral observation mission. France welcomes the participation of the Serbs of Kosovo in the electoral process, and we call for a peaceful passage of power, transfer of power in the municipalities in the north of Kosovo. Mr. President, there is no possible alternative, neither positive, nor for Serbia, nor for Kosovo, neither for Serbia nor for Kosovo, no alternative to the normalization of their relations, which is key to their integration into the European Union. This is part of the framework of the EU-facilitated dialogue that an agreement could be arrived at to definitively resolve the disputes between the two countries. France will continue to support European mediation, specifically the efforts undertaken by the Special Representative of the European Union, responsible for dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina, Mr. Peter Sorensen. Mr. President, in order to achieve this normalization, the two countries must honor the commitments assumed through the Brussels-Ohrid Accords. France regrets the fact that the ongoing closure by the Kosovo government of Serb administrative structures in Kosovo has negative repercussions for the day-to-day lives of the Serb population of Kosovo. The status of these administrative structures needs to be resolved through the establishment of the Association of Serb-Majority Municipalities through European mediation efforts. France also encourages the restoration of active participation of Serbs in local governance, the maintenance of law and order, and the judicial system in the north of Kosovo. Likewise, it is unacceptable for the perpetrators of the Banjska attack to remain at large. Unacceptable that they remain at large more than 2 years after these events. It is critical for all perpetrators to be held accountable and brought to justice. Mr. President, France will continue to support the efforts of UNMIK in coordination with KFOR and ULEX Kosovo. France supports all of the conscientious efforts which are geared towards improving and streamlining peacekeeping missions through efficiency measures in compliance with their mandates. The mandate of UNMIK is closely entwined to the normalization of relations between Serbia and Kosovo, and France believes it needs to be extended for as long as necessary. Thank you. I thank the representative of France for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Deputy SRSG Milbert Dongjun Shin for his briefing. I take this opportunity to commend the former SRSG Caroline Ziadeh for her services to UNMIK. I welcome the participation of Foreign Minister Marko Đurić of Serbia and the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Kosovo, Mrs. Donika Schwartz, to this meeting, as well as Ambassador Lambrinidis, head of the EU delegation. President, at the very outset, let me reaffirm my country's earnest desire to see peace and stability prevail in the Balkans region. We support all earnest endeavors aimed at strengthening intercommunal bonding and trust building. We welcome the recent holding of the inaugural session of the Constituent Assembly of Kosovo and remain hopeful that the political process in Kosovo would continue to move forward with the early formation of the government. We congratulate the government of Kosovo and its people for the successful holding of local elections. President, my delegation is cognizant of the history of this region. We remain convinced that a sustained dialogue and the earnest and full implementation of commitments made under the 2013 Brussels Agreement and the 2023 Ohrid Agreement can lead to lasting peace, stability, and tranquility. We appreciate the European Union's continued commitment and efforts to facilitate dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina. We hope that both sides will sincerely commit to the political process and refrain from unilateral actions that could escalate tensions. Divisive rhetoric, hate speech, and incidents of religious intolerance remain a matter of concern. All efforts must be made by the relevant parties to effectively curb such negative trends that give rise to communal tensions. In this context, we note with appreciation the efforts by UNMIC to foster dialogue and promote harmony and spirit of coexistence amongst various communities in Kosovo. We are concerned by the lack of tangible progress to bring those responsible for the Iber-Lipenj Canal and the Banjska attack of 2023 to justice. We hope that the authorities from both sides would cooperate earnestly towards this end. Mr. President, Pakistan enjoys friendly relations with both Kosovo and Serbia and remains a steadfast supporter of stability and prosperity in that region. This, we believe, can be achieved by adhering to the principle of peaceful coexistence with mutual respect, recognizing each other's sensitivities, and earnestly abiding with the previous agreements. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for his statement, and I now will deliver a statement in my capacity as the representative of the Russian Federation. We are grateful to the Deputy Special Representative and Secretary General, Milbert Shin, for the briefing on the situation in the province and for the considerations that have been shared with us, and we welcome the participation of the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Serbia, Marko Đurić, during today's meeting, and we listened to the views expressed by Madam Donika Gërvalla. The Secretary General's report clearly reflects a trend towards a significant worsening of the crisis in Kosovo. The main reasons have remained unchanged. This includes Pristina's hate-driven policy vis-à-vis the Serb community, its zealous desire to impose complete control over the north of the province, with the collusion of a number of Western countries. And this is, to a large extent, precisely why, for all of these past years, the situation in Kosovo settlement unrelentingly continues to deteriorate. We will share just a few examples from the reporting period. Pristina carried out another round of raids to eliminate Serb structures in the province, usurped communal enterprises as well as social services facilities and cultural and athletics facilities. Kosovo security forces are freely circulating using armed vehicles in the north municipalities, sowing chaos and disorder and intimidating the local population. There are indications that there are preparations underway to seize educational institutions and hospitals. The large-scale expulsion of Serbs from social housing in the north of Kosovo is ongoing. The plans to expropriate Serb churches and monasteries include attempts to establish their own Orthodox churches. The pace of erosion of borders around dense Serb populations in the province, in the north of the province, has grown. The goal is to encourage ethnic expansion of Kosovo Albanians in order to have the Serb-populated municipalities stripped of their autonomy. And 2 new crossings were built across Ibar River without the consent of the Serbs. The Pristina regime's plans include to officially declare Kosovo Serbs as being foreigners. As a result, people who for centuries resided on their land, which holds the graves of many generations of their ancestors, will have to request temporary residence documents In addition, a requirement has been announced to replace on vehicles Serb license plates with plates bearing the insignia of the so-called Republic of Kosovo. Such lawlessness is being used by Pristina in an attempt to compel the Serbs to apply for local pseudo-citizenship. There's an attempt underway under false pretext to bar from participating in municipal elections to be held on the 12th of October of the leading party of Kosovo Serbs, the Serb List. This party, which despite the discreditation campaign which Pristina unleashed and targeting it, in the first round already secured a victory in 9 of 10 non-Albanian municipalities. We regard the main objective as being ensuring the smooth transfer of power to the legitimately elected representatives and not those whom the Kosovo authorities are trying to replace them with. On the subject of domestic political processes, it bears mentioning that, owing to procedural violations, the position of Vice Speaker of the so-called Parliament of Kosovo went to an appointee, a person who does not enjoy the support of the Serb population, but someone who is loyal to Alban Kurti and his circle. Nor has there been progress in the implementation of, by Pristina of what was enshrined in writing under the EU 2013 agreement, the key obligation to establish an association of Serb municipalities. And Brussels, here too, continues to demonstrate to the entire world its inadequacy when it comes to foreign policy. Nor has there been progress in investigation into the assault on 28 May 2019 of an UNMIK staff member, Mikhail Krasnoshokov, nor has there been any explanation provided regarding the illegitimate declaration of a mission staff member Andrei Antonov persona non grata on the 31st of December 2021. Yet, instead of duly seeking to reduce the mayhem by Pristina, Western capitals merely continue to indulge their protege as they strive to impose resolutions to the problems in Kosovo on their conditions in circumvention of international law, ignoring the legitimate rights and interests of the Serbs residing there. Pristina is receiving assistance in building its own army. It is well known that if Alban Kurti clings to power, he intends to increase military expenditures to create a joint military unit with Albania and to put a munitions production plan into operation, as well as to carry out large-scale training for volunteer reservists to provide them with weapons in the event of mobilization. The threat which such plans pose to security in the region is clear. And all of the above flies in the face of Security Council Resolution 1244, which is the cornerstone for Kosovo resolution. And in this connection, we wish to invite the members of the Council to engage in a thorough analysis of this document to better understand how egregiously its provisions are being violated. For example, the reaffirmation of the sovereignty of Serbia, the establishment of provisional self-governing institutions only through UNMIK, as well as the deployment of an international security presence, KFOR, which is the sole legitimate military formation on the territory of a province. Security Council resolutions need to be enforced, and 1244 is no exception. And this is precisely why we support the achievement by Belgrade and Pristina of a lasting, mutually acceptable solution strictly within international legal frameworks on the basis of the above document. Today, under no circumstances must the international community diminish its focus on the Kosovo issue. This will help to avoid a new wave of escalation. This is precisely why we categorically object to reducing the frequency and changing the format of Security Council meetings, as well as object to reducing budgetary and staffing levels for UNMIK. The mission, under exceedingly complicated circumstances, continues to carry out an important objective to help facilitate improvement and stability in the province. I once again resume my duties as the President of the Council, and I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Stavros Lambrinidis, Head of the Delegation of the European Union to the United Nations.
President, I have the honor to speak on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The candidate countries, excuse me, North Macedonia, Montenegro, Albania, and the Republic of Moldova, as well as Norway, align themselves with this statement. Colleagues, the European Union remains fully and unequivocally committed to the EU membership perspective of the Western Balkans. We welcome that Serbia and Kosovo remain engaged in the EU-facilitated dialogue led by High Representative Kaja Kallas and supported by EU Special Representative Peter Sorensen. Progress on normalization of their relations, including the implementation of the 2023 agreement on the path to normalization and previous agreements reached in the dialogue, is among the essential conditions of the European path of both parties. The European Union remains deeply concerned about the situation in the northern part of Kosovo. Kosovo and Serbia must pursue sustained de-escalation efforts in close cooperation with EULEX, refrain from unilateral and provocative actions that could lead to tension and violence, and avoid divisive rhetoric.
The European Union wishes to welcome the first round of the pluralist municipal elections held on the 12th of October, which took place smoothly with the participation of all communities. We wish to underscore the full participation of Kosovo Serbs without preconditions in the 4 northern municipalities. We call for a smooth handover of power in these municipalities.
Cooperation between municipal and central authorities that reflects the expectations of Kosovo Serbs, previous agreements, and Kosovo law. In this context, we call on Kosovo to enable the reintegration of Kosovo Serb judges, prosecutors, police officers, and other personnel into all Kosovo institutions they left in 2022. The European Union expects that Serbia will take all necessary measures to apprehend and urgently prosecute, based on substantive charges, the perpetrators of the 2023 attacks in the north of Kosovo. Serbia has taken insufficient actions in this respect. We invite all members of the Kosovo Assembly belonging to the Kosovo Serb community to participate in the work of the Assembly. We call on this Assembly and all political authorities in Kosovo to preserve the democratic and multi-ethnic character of Kosovo. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Lambrinidis for his statement. The Minister for Foreign Affairs of Serbia, Marko Đurić, and Madam Gërvalla Schwarz have requested the floor to make additional statements. I wish to remind speakers that I will give this floor one time. I give the floor to Mr. Đurić.
Esteemed Mr. President, I want to acknowledge and welcome the almost universal agreement of the members of this Council in these polarized times of the difficult position of the Serbian community in Kosovo. I think this sends a strong and powerful message to both Mr. Kurti, Mr. Svečlja, and those in position of power that their human rights violations and transgressions are not going unnoticed, and that they should, without delay, change their ways. I will briefly comment on some of the derogatory words that were said against the country I represent, my country, and the President of Serbia, Mr. Aleksandar Vučić, who was accused here of warmongering. President Vučić not only did not make any such statement at any time, but has consistently called for economic cooperation through initiatives such as the Open Balkans, through which Serbia, Albania, and North Macedonia created a single labor market, but unfortunately Kurti's government refused any such initiative and continued its repression. I also want to briefly touch upon the usage and the preposterous accusation against Serbia of the usage of the word genocide in the context of my country. The term genocide, honorable members of the Security Council, should not be misused, especially not for political and sensationalist purposes. This kind of rhetoric in general, blanket assessments and claims without any evidence or due process are frivolous, not founded in reality, and serve only to score cheap political points. Such irresponsible claims also undermine possibility for progress in the normalization of relations between Serbs and Albanians, Belgrade and Pristina. Finally, if we are talking about the ethnic composition of the population in Kosovo and Metohija then and now, we should also clearly present the facts and say that in Kosovo and Metohija today there are 90% and more of Albanians, and that Serbs have suffered in the previous decades, being victims of crimes and being forcefully expelled from their centuries-old ancestral homes and forced to leave their homes in such significant numbers. And to illustrate this, we remind you of more than 200,000 internally displaced persons who reside in the Republic of Serbia in our jurisdictions without opportunity and conditions to return to their homes. Instead of calling out Serbia on bogus charges, I believe that the authorities in Pristina should allow humanitarian workers like Mr. Milorad Arlov and others who are being prevented from even entering the territory of Kosovo and Metohija to perform their work. I also want to say that speaking about international law, most of the members of the United Nations support Serbia's territorial integrity and sovereignty on the entire territory, as we have been recognized by the United Nations. In fact, in the past decade, 27 countries have revoked recognition of the Unilateral Declaration of Independence, and only 3 new countries have recognized the so-called independence. We are not interested in having this type of competition or this type of political quarrel and a political fight, but we will always stand very firmly for our position, for the resolution 1244, for our constitution and for international public law. Finally, there was a misinterpretation of the meaning of the word Metohija. Kosovo and Metohija, as we say, has deep historic meaning for the Serbian people. I have nothing but respect for the Albanian people, their tradition, their culture. In Serbian tradition, in Serbian culture, the meaning of the word Metohija, or Metohos, as its Greek origin says, is monastery or church property. And indeed, as early as documents from 11th, 12th, and 13th century clearly record the use of the word Metohija for church property in the western part of Kosovo and Metohija. This is not insulting or derogatory in any way, nor it can by any means be linked or attributed to Slobodan Milošević or any other Serbian former or current politician. It's a part of our identity, part of our culture, equally as Albanians call this region Dukajin and have their own names for other parts of Kosovo. Finally, and I'm finishing with this, I want to end on a positive note. Serbs and Albanians are not, and I repeat, are not destined to be enemies. Regardless how difficult dialogue is the only option. Dialogue will lead to trust, and dialogue will lead to a better future, one in which we may really see the economy of the region being at the forefront of European growth, which unfortunately is not the case at the moment. I thank you.
I thank Minister Đurić for his statement, and I now give the floor to Madam Gërvalla-Schwarz.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I believe we all are witness why it is so difficult, this dialogue process in the 21st century, because we have still to do with people who in Belgrade deny war crimes, they deny genocide. They celebrate war criminals as heroes, and they do this in presence of people who are old enough to know exactly about what happened in the 90s, not only in my country. Just a second about Kosovo and Metohija, and yes, it is an expression of hegemonic aspirations. Why? Because nobody in Kosovo, when we speak about our northern neighbor, do use provinces' names like Šumadija and Vojvodina, for example, or Belgrade and Šumadija, but we call it by the name of Serbia, as internationally everybody here does. So when you hear somebody talking about Kosovo and Metohija, believe me, you have in front of you fans and supporters of the old ideology of Slobodan Milošević. But I will not comment very long because it would take a whole day to dismantle this kind of propaganda and lies. I want to stress that once again that Banjska was not an incident. Banjska was an act of open aggression of Serbia, of the state of Serbia, against a neighboring country, against the Republic of Kosovo. Impunity followed. The attack on our critical infrastructure in November last year was not an incident. It was a kinetic attack of Serbia against a neighboring country, against the Republic of Kosovo. Everybody here and outside of this building knows exactly who stays behind this all. We have seen it all in the video footages from Banjska, but no consequences. Yes, we have bought drones, but not from a neighboring country. We did it from a NATO member, Turkey. And we are purchasing weapons from our NATO allies, NATO partners. And to be very honest, we are not neutral. We do not pretend to be neutral because we stay side by side with our partners, with our allies, and we do that in a very transparent and very clear way. Yes, NATO members, they train, they advise our security forces, our army. We purchase weapons from them, and we purchase weapons that are very much needed to protect our country and our citizens, and we do not make out a secret of that. But where we do not buy weapons, like our northern neighbor is doing is buying weapons from Russia, from China, from Iran, and other countries like that. Health institutions are not being closed in the north, ladies and gentlemen. In opposite, a serious dialogue with our citizens in these northern municipalities who belong to the Serbian minority is ongoing about how healthcare and education and infrastructure have to look in Kosovo. Because it's all about them. It's about what they need. It's about how they want to live their lives as citizens of Kosovo. We do not want and we do not need ghettos for our Serbian citizens. We need integration, protection, and support for them. And as a responsible government, we are taking serious actions in securing that. That's why we are building bridges. That's why we are building roads, schools, hospitals, and not walls for our minorities. No one, not any Kosovar institution, and no international authorities or organizations do confirm largest parts of the UNMIK report. What Marko Đurić said here doesn't surprise me at all. And for those who were following in the late 80s of the last century what happened in Yugoslavia, they will be reminded that exactly this way, with this language, Milošević prepared the 4 wars he waged in the 90s against Slovenia, against Croatia, against Bosnia, and against Kosovo. Let me repeat my invitation to this distinguished body, the UN Security Council, to visit Kosovo, to talk to citizens of Kosovo in the northern, southern, western, eastern parts of our country. I invite you to come and to talk to whom you want. And I invite you to become witness of the incredible story and progress Kosovo has made with the indispensable help and support of friends, partners, and allies. Visit Kosovo, talk to everybody you like, make up your mind, and become witness of the incredible success story of international engagement. Thank you.
I thank Madam Gërvalla Schwartz for a statement. There are no more lists inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting stands adjourned.